Lawmakers in the House of Representatives, as you see right there, are taking their last key step required before voting on legislation that would end this historic government shutdown. And maybe this should be breaking news too. We have discovered that bipartisanship is not dead. It is alive and well. And let's talk about that with Democratic Representative Sam Liccardo and Republican Representative Kevin Kiley, both from California. They just voted. They both represent California, and they are introducing a bipartisan bill to extend these Obamacare premium tax credits for 2 years that has been, for the Democrats at least, part of this debate. Congressman Kiley, is there a sense of urgency among Republicans, or at least enough Republicans, to pass legislation to do something about keeping health care costs affordable for constituents?
I think there is. There's a lot of folks on our side of the aisle who are extremely concerned about the prospect of this massive increase in premiums for a lot of our constituents. And so you've had a number who have come out publicly and said that they want to see some form of temporary relief. And I think that the proposal that Congressman Liccardo and I are offering is a great compromise because it provides this temporary time-limited extension, but it does so in a way that actually has reforms such that we don't increase the deficit in the process.
The House of Representatives is voting to end the 43-day shutdown in the federal government, the longest in history. President Trump promising to sign the bill at 9:45 Eastern tonight, and the government will reopen. We're going to go right to CNN's chief congressional correspondent, Manu Raju, on Capitol Hill. Where do things stand right now?
Yeah, they are moments away from gaveling this vote close, and this bill is on track for passage right now. It has not reached the magic number yet of 218 votes. That's if all members are voting and present, but there may be some absence here where there are two vacancies here in the Senate and the House. So it's still, that magic number has not been reached yet, but they are on track to get it. There are about 15 people who have not voted yet. And right now there are 4 yes votes on the Democratic side. We had expected 4 crossovers, and they are a handful of members. Some of them are more vulnerable members. Adam Gray of California, he's a freshman from a swing district. Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, another congresswoman who's from Washington State, also from a swing district, and also Jared Golden. He's a retiring Maine Democrat, a moderate Democrat from a Trump won district. He is also voting for this plan, breaking with his party. Don Davis, a North Carolina Democrat, someone who's in a swing district. Those are the 4 Democrats who have crossed over to vote with Republicans on this bill to keep the government open. And right now there are 2 Republican no votes. One of them is Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. He has long been very critical of spending legislation, and he has voted against these kind of bills in the past. So that is no surprise there. But the interesting, Greg Steube of Florida was one who just voted no. So we'll see if that vote holds. Any member can change his or her vote before the gavel closes. Sometimes they accidentally vote one way and then change it back to another way. So we'll see if that vote holds. But still, right now, there are 2 Republican no votes, 5 Democratic yes votes. And if those 5 Democratic yes votes holds, that is going to be more than enough. Because remember, Mike Johnson can only afford to lose 2 Republican votes if it is a straight party line votes. That's the most he can lose along party lines, given the razor-thin Republican majority. But right now, it's at 216 to 207. Your feed may be a little faster than mine,
I
but
believe it's
the one that I'm seeing right now
220 right now.
219.
220, 221.
So 220. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm using the House app called Dome Watch, which appears to be a little bit behind the feed that you're getting, Anderson. But
so the total it has to get to is. What's the total it has to get to?
Once it clears the threshold, 218 is the threshold here, Anderson, and it has cleared that threshold. So we are there. This is well on its way for passage. So a significant moment. 6 Democratic votes now on my feed. Maybe it's a little bit higher than the one that you have a few seconds ahead of mine. But that is what's pushing this over the finish line. A couple of Republican defections, but Democrats, swing district Democrats, breaking ranks here to end.
So what
this
happens now,
shutdown,
Manu?
Anderson?
What's the next step?
So the president has said that he will sign this into law tonight. That will happen at 9:45 p.m. Eastern. He said that he would sign this into law, and that is going to be obviously a big moment because that will end this 43-day government shutdown. Democrats initiated this fight because they were furious that these subsidies under the Affordable Care Act were expiring at the end of the year, and they wanted a process to extend those. And they said that this funding legislation must be tied to it. They refused to give the votes in the Senate. They needed 60 in the Senate. That means they needed 8 Democrats to break ranks over there. Ultimately, after 40 days, a deal was cut. Then Senate Democrats, 8 of them, voted to advance this bill with a commitment for a vote on health care not tied to this funding legislation, a commitment in the Senate, which will happen by the second week of December. There is no commitment for a health care vote in the House. So expect a huge fight over health care in the weeks ahead of the next funding deadline, Anderson. When this gets signed into law, there will be till January 30th. That will be the next funding deadline for most federal agencies, and that will be it. And I can hear in my ear, Anderson, it sounds like they are gaveling this vote closed. So it is official. And the crossovers, it looks like there are 2 Republicans who voted no. Again, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, Greg Steube of Florida. The Democratic yes votes, Jared Golden of Maine, Adam Gray of California, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez of Washington State, Don Davis of North Carolina, Henry Cuellar of Texas, and Tom Suozzi, who's a New York Democrat as well. So some of the more moderate, some of the more swingy district Democrats breaking ranks with their party leadership, which was fighting very hard, whipping their members to vote against it. But a handful of them broke ranks, joined with Republicans, and now this bill is on set to passage, and federal workers can probably begin to go back to work tomorrow, Anderson.
And for, Democrats said they got an assurance from Senator Thune that there would be a vote. Why, for those breaking Democrats, was the idea of there being an actual vote so important?
Yeah, for these Democrats who broke ranks, they made very clear, Anderson, that they believe that ultimately the pain of this government shutdown was too much. Even though there's just a commitment for a vote in the health care, which no one expects here will actually become law, given the divisions within the 2 parties on the issue like health care, that those members who broke ranks said, look, we have seen this shutdown go on for way too long. The president is not going to agree to what we are negotiating or what we want. It is time to end this once and for all. But there are so many Democrats who I've spoken to, Anderson, who are just furious at that position. They believe that those Democrats caved. They believe those Democrats gave in to the White House when they believe the president was in his weakest position following last Tuesday's elections and Democratic wins in some key states. And they said that they could have gotten a lot more when it comes to health care, in particular as 22 million people or so who rely on those subsidies could see they're already seeing their premiums increase. And a lot of them are various. Some of them say absolutely gutted by the outcome of this.
Yeah.
But the Democratic divisions were on full display here, and very clearly on this vote, 6 of them breaking ranks, just like 8 of them did in the Senate as well, Anderson.